Chiefs and Saints play this weekend. That's far more important as we get you ready for Week 15. Couple of games on Saturday. We'll talk about those coming up, but the big game on Sunday, Kansas City at New Orleans. The question of Drew Brees' health, I really don't think it's on the tee yet. I think next Friday, Christmas Day, the Vikings-Saints game is when we'll see Brees, or at least we're more likely to. How would you balance it out? What percentage does Brees have to be at in your mind before you play him less than 100 over 100% Taysom Hill?
I don't think it really matters. I think their offense is weirdly limited no matter who's playing quarterback, unless it's Jameis Winston. What's going on with your boy Taysom after last week? Because we saw maybe the ceiling of what he is, which is nice, little gimmicky, good in a pinch, probably not a franchise quarterback like you've been saying.
Well, first of all, when the defense gives up 246 rushing yards, it's kind of hard for anyone to win the game. Hey, he's 3-1. He's 3-1, and let's see what happens this week against the Chiefs, because we're going to see how good he is or isn't this week. And he believes he's a week in and week out starting quarterback in the NFL. The Saints believe he's a week in and week out starting quarterback in the NFL. And they're not going to beat the Chiefs by holding the Chiefs to 17 points. They're going to have to score. He's going to have to throw, and we'll see what he can do. He told me a couple of weeks ago he's been working on his timing, working with the starting receivers. When you're the backup, you don't get access to the starting receivers. They've been working basically through this mini training camp of getting him to the point where he's as comfortable as he needs to be with the receivers, and they're as comfortable as they need to be with him. This is the week. This is the final exam. If he can stay within a touchdown of the Chiefs, then I think he's a keeper.
You know what? I've noticed that he's been working with the receivers, because you can tell the receivers now know that every pass is not going to be actually on target, so they have to come back for it or change their body direction. They're all jump balls, 50-50 balls that you hope the receiver gets. To answer your first question, I do think that Drew Brees, there's nothing with the Packers beating the Saints earlier in the year. That's going to be the tiebreaker. The Packers finished the season against the Panthers. I don't know who they have. Oh, the Titans, which actually that could be tough for the Packers. And then the Bears. It is a fine balance here, because you don't want to get Drew Brees hurt again. You want him to be healthy and ready to go in the playoffs for this last push. And it seems like the 1 seed might be, you're on the outside looking in right now. So I think you try to go with Taysom Hill, see what happens, try to steal a win, which the Saints roster is so good and their defense is so good that I'm not going to count them out just because Drew Brees isn't playing. I think that the Saints definitely could be in this game. They can win this game. And to throw everything out there, Mike, here's a little stat for you. Patrick Mahomes, 0-3 in his career against the spread playing inside. He's an outdoor cat.
Wow.
You
Well,
like
he
that?
is, and he didn't realize it. I like that. He didn't realize he was an outdoor cat until he had to play in the snow for the first time in the playoffs a couple of years ago, and he realized he really likes it. So, yeah, I think that doesn't surprise me really, because he moves like an outdoor cat in those circumstances on grass, where maybe he can get a little more of an edge over the guys chasing him for whatever reason. It's something uncanny about the way he is. That's why it was so stunning last week when he took that 30-yard sack. You never see that happen. You always see him being able to elude whoever it is that's chasing him. And he always has that extra little half step that things like that don't happen. You made a very subtle reference to Jameis Winston. So I'm going to put this to you. Week 1, 2021, who's the starting quarterback of the New Orleans Saints? Is it Brees? Is it Hill? Is it Jameis?
It's Taysom Hill, but I don't agree with that.
Peyton supposedly told Jameis Winston he's going to have an opportunity to compete to be the starter, and I would say the competition's already begun. You know, what Peyton said earlier this week on the Huddle and Flow podcast, by the way, is that that he promised Hill that he'd be the starter if Drew Brees got hurt this year, that Hill's number 2, period. That was even before they signed Jameis Winston. So he made that promise to Hill. He's delivered. He's made the promise to Winston. You'll get to compete to be the starter when Brees leaves, and I think that's one of the reasons why Winston signed with the Saints. So I think we need to look at the tea leaves that are in plain sight here, and I think there's a chance that Winston, after a full year of practice, learning the system, will have an opportunity to compete on fair footing with Taysom Hill and maybe become the starter next year. I'm not closing the door on that.
Hey, I'm rooting for it. He's a future Hall of Famer for a reason, so I would love to see Jameis Winston get a starting job.
Here's Patrick Mahomes talking earlier this week about facing the New Orleans Saints defense.
The way they're able to interchange, I mean, those linebackers, those D linemen, DB, safeties, Malcolm Jenkins, all those guys can really interchange and guard different guys, and as well as blitz and rush the passer. So it's a great challenge, kind of trying to figure out what their game plan is for that week, who they want to put on who they want pressuring the quarterback. And you have to do a good job of recognizing that quickly in order to get the ball out of your hands and figure out a way to have success against a really good defense.
You know, the best way to defend Patrick Mahomes is force him to be patient, force him to keep the plays in the shorter yardage range. Don't give him the chance to have that big spectacular moment, and you hope that he becomes impatient and eventually just says, screw it, and throws the ball down the field, and maybe you get lucky and you pick him off. And he was picked off 3 times last week. He told me after the game he's not going to change the way he plays just because he has an interception. He's going to keep firing it. He's not going to get timid. And this should be a great game. Would it be better if Drew Brees was playing? Yes, but it still should be a very good game. And for the Saints, and you mentioned it, the Packers still have to play the Titans. That's next week, Sunday Night Football. If the Titans beat the Packers, that would be an opening for the Saints if they can run the table to get the 1 seed. And the difference, even though there's no fans, if you're the Saints, indoor Cat versus outdoor in Lambeau Field in January Cat, that's a huge difference. So that's the stakes that the Packers and the Saints now have in front of them.
Patrick Mahomes told you that personally? You talked to him?
Yes, and I'm going to mention that as much as I can. And Matt Casey is telling Matt Casey is telling you to say those things. He did tell me that.
No, he's not. No, he's not.
Yes,
no, he's not. He has not said that at all.
All right.
No, erroneous and throw it out of court.
All right. Is that are you surprised? Are you trolling me? Are you saying,
no.
You've mentioned several times, and I know that. Look,
no.
Hey, the best player in the world will talk to me on the phone. Yes, I'm going to brag about it.
That's pretty sick. He talks to me in DMs every now and then. Usually doesn't reply. Whatever. All
right.
Did you just break some news saying that Drew Brees isn't playing on Sunday night or Sunday afternoon?
No, I didn't say he isn't playing on Sunday. I said.
Well,
I
you
said
said
it would be
nice
if.
Yeah.
I'm not breaking news here. I'm just looking at the situation, and I'm assuming that they're not going to play him this week. He's still got a ways to go. Sean Payton told me last week. Can I do that? Is that okay? Am I allowed to say that? How hard it is, to recover from that injury. He said it's like watching spaghetti boil. You've got all those muscles and tendons and stuff when you try to throw a football, and they want him to be at a point where he's comfortable. And that's where, look, if your backup is, I don't know, pick a crappy backup. One of these guys where you could flip his last name and his first name around and it still makes sense. Okay, yeah, him too. Sean Mannion, his backup, who I'd never put on a football field anywhere. All due respect. If it's Sean Mannion at 100%, then you're going to put Drew Brees out there if his arm's hanging down to the, and he's got a rib sticking out of one side. I mean, the better the backup is, the easier it is to keep the starter on ice. So I think that with Hill and they're comfortable with him, then you don't play Brees until he's closer to 100% because why do you want to throw him out there if he's not ready? And then he looks like crap, and then you have people like us saying, Drew Brees is washed.
Oh, I've been saying that before this, so I've been saying that for 2 years now, so don't worry about me. But yeah, no, you make a good point. They can win this game with Taysom Hill running the Wildcat and throwing jump balls to everyone.
They can't. No. But the point is, if Brees is still diminished, and I think he is, the guy had 11 broken ribs, and it was just a few weeks ago, and he's 41. I don't think he's anywhere close to 100% when you have that many broken ribs. So you ride with Taysom Hill one more week because I think Drew Brees 90% isn't as good as Taysom Hill at 100%. And Sean Payton come up with the game plan, come up with a way to score points on the Chiefs defense. That's where Payton has made his legend over the years. All right, let's move on to another game of significance this weekend for both teams, not just the Seahawks, but also the Washington football team. Surprisingly 6-7. Holding first place in the NFC East. Seahawks coming to town at 9-4. Threshold question, will Alex Smith play this week? And he's got that calf injury. Ron Rivera said last week that he was held out of the second half of the 49ers game as a precaution. Now we've seen no practice Wednesday, no practice Thursday. Alex Smith has said he's not sure he's going to be able to go. My gut tells me we're not going to see Alex Smith on Sunday. It's going to be Dwayne Haskins, the guy who was basically persona non grata with the Washington football team not that long ago.
So this one's interesting because on one hand, Russell Wilson, if you look at the stats, against top 13 defenses, pass defenses, he's 3-3 on the year and not great numbers. I think he's like 9 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Against bottom, the rest of the league, he is 6-1. He's racked up all his stats. Guess what the Washington football team has? A really good pass defense. And they get, they're really good at getting to the quarterback. They will make him make decisions quickly. They will not give him time. So the defense of the Washington football team, I think, can keep them in this game, and I think they can hang. And if you look at what Russell Wilson's done this year, he's had a good year, but against really good defenses, he has struggled. Remember the game against the Rams, he struggled. What makes me nervous, Mike, is I do a thing on Sunday night. We to kind of pull back the curtain here. I'm sitting in my seat right now in the Pardon My Take studio. We're here till 2 a.m. Not a brag, just a statement of fact. We're here till 2 a.m. I go home. I drive back to Brooklyn at 2 a.m. When I get home and I get in bed, I'm still wired from doing a show. I look at the lines on Sunday night to get a gut reaction. Just real quick down the line, pick the game in your head, just what Joe Public is thinking. And when I did that last Sunday night, I've never loved a bet more than I loved the Washington football team. That's a problem.
Well, and I've been picking against Washington every week for the last 4 weeks, and they just keep winning. Here's what I think needs to happen, and this is a product of the conversation Sims and I have had this week about this game. The Seahawks need to go back to being the very boring, run-based, be-careful offense, because if Washington has Dwayne Haskins on the field and they don't have Antonio Gibson, I need to check on his status. Great rookie running back and a different offense without him too. Washington's not going to produce a lot of points with their offense. They're going to need to produce points with their defense, like last week when you got Chase Young doing his Walter Payton impersonation, holding the football like the loaf of bread and running to the end zone. So you can't give the Washington defense opportunities to create points. You have to be smart. You have to be careful with the ball. You have to not get Russell Wilson sacked 5, 6, or 7 times. So I think they need to dust off one of the old school Seahawks game plans for this and just keep it boring, keep it simple, take field goals when you can, and trust that your defense is going to be able to keep Washington from scoring, because if you get too cute, that's when the Washington defense is going to swallow you up and produce a touchdown or two.
You're right. You're right. You just made Twitter mad, Mike, but you're right. The let Russ cook. Maybe there was some reasoning. I think that the pendulum needs to find its way right to the middle, because, it's crazy to say that they had a good game plan in that playoff game against the Cowboys when they ran the ball a million times. When they used to run the ball and take the ball out of Russell Wilson's hands, that was stupid. When they passed the ball 50 times, that's also stupid. Find that balance. Find the perfect spot where you can let Russ Wilson be one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but also have that balanced offense where he isn't asked to do everything all the time.
But that Cowboys game plan is far better than the let Russ cook approach this week.
No, that was a terrible game plan. No.
Well, it
wrong.
was terrible in that spot. It was terrible in that spot, but that's the game plan. If you've got Dwayne Haskins and backup running backs for Washington, that's a game plan that is far better than the alternative. Now, I agree with you. Find the middle ground. But if you're picking one or the other, I understand.
Yeah.
My point is this. If we are dealing with the two extremes and we say the hell with the middle, this is a game where you could get by with what was a horrific game plan in a playoff game against the Cowboys. I think you could. Against this team, I think you can.
No, because they can do a good job against the run too. I mean, the Washington football team is a good defense, a very good defense. So I think balance is the key, one way or the other, and they could be in trouble.
Who's your coach of the year? Because Ron Rivera's already won it twice. He could win it a third time.
It was Joe Judge until he started Daniel Jones on one leg. And that was a horrific mistake. It was a horrific mistake.
But he's still a better coach than John Gruden.
Way better coach than John Gruden. My coach of the year, it's probably either Stefanski It's between Stefanski, Flores, and Tomlin. I'd probably lean Stefanski right now.
Yeah, I'm all in with Stefanski. Considering the history in Cleveland and how dysfunctional it was last year, without the benefit of an offseason program, to come in and turn that thing around the way that he has, I think it's been incredible. But I think Ron Rivera, if they win the division, you have to take Ron Rivera seriously, because even more dysfunction this year in Washington than in Cleveland going into the season. Speaking of Cleveland, the Browns 9-4, prime time on NBC. At the New York Giants, Joe Judge and company 5-8. They haven't let us know whether or not Daniel Jones will be playing on one leg or Colt McCoy will be playing on two legs. They haven't even had a chance to fully evaluate Jones. He's got the hamstring. He's got an ankle injury now. I'm not going to be surprised if we see Colt McCoy. I like the fact that Joe Judge is keeping it close to his vest. Coaches with far more experience than Judge aren't nearly good enough at taking advantage of the potential for creating uncertainty that falls into your lap. Yeah, you'd rather your quarterback not be injured, but if he is, let's take full advantage of keeping the other team guessing, which is exactly what Joe Judge is doing.
The Freddie Kitchens revenge game. I'm excited for this Sunday night game. So to me, this game is pretty simple in that if the Giants can just be not even average on offense, if they can be just a touch below average, that game against the Cardinals on Sunday, I looked up, every single time I looked up, the Giants were at 3rd and 9 on their own 15-yard line. Like, they weren't going forward at all. They gave their defense no chance. The Giants defense is a good unit. And if they give the Giants, if the Giants offense can give their defense just a little bit of breathing room, I think the Giants can win this game, because the key to beating the Browns is to get pressure on Baker Mayfield, get him a little bit frantic, and I think the Giants have that ability. I think this game will be a tight game, and all you need is Colt McCoy to be just a little bit, he's got to be an average quarterback for one night, and the Giants can win this game.
With Baker Mayfield, when they beat the Titans, I regretted not seeing that the Titans don't have the pass rush that can cause Baker Mayfield to wilt a little bit, get a little Kirk Cousins-y. There's a thread there from Baker Mayfield to Kirk Cousins. When everything's going fine, you can get it done. When it starts to crumble, you can't get it done. You can't run away from pressure. You can't improvise when you have to go off schedule. But then last week against the Ravens, the Ravens have a real pass rush. They were chasing him around. He just had a spring in his step. And he said Wednesday that when he plays better with confidence, and I think it's a snowball effect. He's getting more confidence. He's playing better, which leads to more confidence, which means he's playing better. First back-to-back 300-yard games of his career. He's been phenomenal since the bye. He explained this week that during that bye after the loss to the Raiders 16-6, their first game without Odell Beckham Jr., that was really their chance to take a breath and evaluate themselves without the benefit of preseason, without the benefit of an offseason program with a new head coach and new systems. And they learned a lot about what they need to do on offense during the bye week, and this is the product of it. So I think what the Browns did on Monday night, we've talked about how the Raiders acted like they won a Super Bowl in playing the Chiefs close, and the Hail Murray game, what it did to the Cardinals. I really see what happened Monday night, and especially the way that Stefanski reacted to it, saying there's no moral victories, whatever the case may be. I think that becomes something that propels the Browns, even though they lost the game. And that's why I think they're going to win tonight. And that's why I think they're going to run the table. And that's why I think they're going to be a tough team to beat in January. And, for all those Browns fans out there that have been suffering through crap for the last 20 years, I hope that they get something. I don't know that they're not going to beat the Chiefs. I think it's going to be the Chiefs versus somebody in the NFC. That's the Super Bowl, Chiefs versus somebody. But the Browns, I think, at least can make some noise. And if they get the Ravens or the Steelers again in the playoffs, who knows what happens.
All right, you've changed my opinion. You changed my opinion about this game. I'll take the Browns. I think the Browns will win.
Hey, good.
There it is.
You already made your bet on the Giants though, so it's too late.
No. Well,
when do you lock in? When do you lock in your bets? When do you make your bets?
Throughout the week, but it could be the Browns to win and the Giants to cover. There's enough room there. 5.5, 4.5.
Yeah, I like the Browns to win and to cover, but we'll see what happens. That's the thing. Nobody ever comes back and throws it in your face when you get it wrong. Just your bookie when you keeps your money. All right.
What?
It doesn't happen. No, they don't throw it in. No, look, when you're picking 16 games, I mean, if you get more than half of them right, yeah. Well, I mean, other than team
your
social
Twitter mentions
media
are a lot
accounts.
different than mine, my friend, because I get it thrown in my face all the time.
The only entity on Twitter that throws it in your face is the team social media account of the team that was so bad that you trust that they're going to continue to be bad, and they somehow stumble their way into an upset, and they puff out their chest like there's some secret Super Bowl contender that nobody knew about. So other than that, maybe those are the only ones I pay attention to. I'm so used to getting crap in my mentions, I ignore it. I just ignore it. Thicken your skin and ignore the haters. Let's take a break.
Wait,
speaking of
I got
haters,
no problem with it, but I get it all the time. My mentions are all you're an idiot. You picked the wrong games. Your mentions are Florio, stop trying to cancel football. I think that's fair.
Yeah, that's and I failed. I've been trying for my quest to be unemployed has failed.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.